Hi, I'm Kathy Lewis from Tall Tree Designs, and today we are going to look at how to do mattress stitch. Mattress stitch is the most common method of seaming for joining two knit pieces together. It's got two advantages. One, it's really simple to learn, and two, it creates a really great invisible seam. I'm going to give it a third advantage. It's also really strong. So we're going to start with these two swatches that I've put together ahead of time, and they're just plain stockinette stitch swatches. And the first thing I'm going to do is show you how you would use mattress stitch to join two pieces like this side to side. And this gets used a lot when, for example, you're seaming the sides of a sweater. And what you need to do is you have to have both pieces right side up. And normally you would leave a long tail of yarn to do the seaming with. It's already attached to your work, but I'm going to use a contrasting color just to make it really easy to see. So the first thing I have to do is I have to join my thread to the fabric. And to do that, I'm actually just going to start a little higher than the bottom because I made these garter row stitches to keep it from rolling too much. So we'll ignore those and pretend that this is the bottom corner. And we're going to bring our tapestry needle up through that hole, around, and in through the same hole again. And we're just going to pull that nice and tight so that it's secure. And we're ready to begin. So as I said, both pieces right side up, side by side like this, and we're going to go from the left swatch over to the right swatch now. When we look at this swatch side by side, you can see here that's the edge of the row, and if I pull the first two columns of stitches apart a little bit, you can see that there are these little bars in between. It looks kind of like a ladder, and those are what we're going to be picking up as we seam this together. So again, I'm going to start just a little above that garter row border. I'm going to insert my needle right here into the first hole, and I'm going to pick up the first rung on that ladder, and I'm going to pick up the second rung. So 2 on the needle and pull the yarn through. Now we go back to the first swatch, and we're going to bring the needle in where we left off the last time, and again we're going to pick up 1, 2 bars and pull the thread through. Now I'm not pulling them too tightly at this juncture, but I'm just going to keep going back and forth and do the exact same thing. The needle goes in where you left off and picks up 1, 2 bars. And that is the whole technique, basically. I'm just going to keep going for a few more. Exactly the same each time. And when we've got a few done, that's when we want to pull it a little bit tighter. Okay, so you can see there how we've gone, get the tail out of the way. We've gone back and forth, and right now you can see the yarn joining those two sides together. But, and this is the fun part, when you pull that thread gently, can you see how the two edges are folding in and joining together, and it creates this beautiful invisible seam. On the wrong side, it creates a little ridge, and on the front side, a nice strong invisible seam. You can't even see that red yarn. Okay, I'm just quickly going to take apart what I've done here because I want to show you something else with this. We've joined it together side by side, And that's not always the case when you're knitting. Sometimes you need to join two bound off edges. And although the technique is the same, it looks a little different when you're using the bound off edges. So I want to demonstrate that for you so that you'll be confident to do it regardless of what kind of an edge you're working with. Okay. So if I turn my swatch, now I've got this bound off edge. And if you look closely, you can see each little V here is a bound off edge. But when we look, we can't pull it apart. We can't get those little bars of a ladder like we did on the other side. What we do have, though, is all these V's. And these V's, each one is a complete stitch. So rather than looking for those rungs on the ladder, what we're going to be looking for is the V. And that V, we call those the legs of the V, and that's what we're going to be picking up this time. So rethread my tapestry needle. And again, I will start by attaching this to my fabric, going in that first hole, coming around and back up through the same hole and pulling it tight. So again, right side up, and we've got our bound off edges together. And I'm going to go over to the right hand swatch, and I am going to insert my tapestry needle into both legs of that first stitch, just like that. Come back to our left swatch, go back in where we left off, and there's the first leg, there's the second leg, and pull through. In where we left off, and the two legs of the next stitch. Exactly the same as we did before. It's just that what we're picking up looks slightly different from the side-by-side one we did earlier. And I'm just going to run a few more here. That's probably enough. And again, pull gently, watch the magic as those two pull in to each other. They're perfectly matched up, perfectly invisible. The ridge on the underside and this great seam on the right side. So that is mattress stitch. It's the method I use to seam all of my projects and patterns at Tall Tree Designs, and you'll find that it works for just about any seaming purpose that you might come across. And now you know how to do it too.